We're starting with a voice, what is it, a voice
A
exercise or
voice
to warm up
exercise.
your vocal cords?
How do you start anything? You start with a warm up in the beginning. So,
Yeah.
mm, let's start low.
Yum.
Mm. From gut to head.
I like it. Head to
Yeah.
gut, gut to head. Oh,
All right, we're warmed up.
ready to go. Let's go.
Ready to go.
All right, well, welcome back to another episode of How You Human. I am Sam,
This is Zaya.
and we are live and in person in Denver with our lovely sister, big sister, Olivia.
Hello.
Our special guest.
And so, obviously, we just introduced you as our sister, but you are so much more than that in terms of your profession and I think just service to others. So, tell us a little bit about that. Who are you?
My name's Olivia, and I am a branding strategist. I've been doing branding since college, so 25 years into my career. I work a lot with women entrepreneurs. I think something that's key about me is that I'm a mom of 20-year-olds in their 20s, which provides a lot of context and just lens of how I operate and how I see things. Oh yeah,
And Sam and I don't have kids,
We do not.
right.
and so we're going to learn a lot. We've already been learning quite a bit.
You have nieces and nephews, which is funner. Less
Sometimes,
stressful, less
yeah.
stressful.
I just think about being able to have this view of you and all of the things that you do, from motherhood to working with women and branding and strategy, and I just am constantly blown away by who you are and what you've accomplished and what you've done, and just stand in awe of yeah of the
Thank
life
you.
that you're living. So thanks for joining us. I was so excited that you wanted to be a part of it. And we had asked, what do you want to talk about? So today, what are we talking
We're
about?
talking about failure. It's interesting that you're like, I'm, in awe and seeing what you do, and the behind the scenes of that are all of the failures that people don't see behind the successes and the things that people do see. So it's a perfect topic.
And so we want to start out with just defining failure. So standard, like, dictionary definition is the inability to accomplish what an outcome that you set. I think I said that right.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about failing, and maybe even like going back to childhood, I guess, where that relationship with failure begins. Yeah. What stories do you guys have?
There's a lot.
Ooh.
I think you should start.
I should start.
You should, yeah.
Well, we grew up in a culture of competition and judgment. And it just feels like there's been so much judgment, criticism toward each other, like historically as kids, and then so much competition, such a culture of winners and losers
Yeah.
in games and all the activities that we did. And
That's
that largely
beginning.
defined, yeah, that largely defined our childhood and this idea of failure.
And with this interesting dynamic, it's like you've got one of the or two of the oldest, but brother and a sister, and the older, and then me, the youngest. And so we're going to tell very different stories about childhood failure, especially game playing. For me, I'll just start out by saying I lost at everything, I'm pretty sure. And it was just lost at everything, or wasn't even given the chance to play. Like, I would be waiting for a turn on a Super Nintendo, then it never came because, I'd have to wait until you guys were like gone or whatever. I remember playing like Uno or basketball, and it's just like, if I was winning, you guys were letting me. So
That's no fun.
yeah. But I mean, I think I was having fun. I don't think I was too tied to winning at that age. But what is fascinating is the competitive nature it's imprinted in me, to the point where I remember years ago going to Christmas time with my boyfriend for the first time, and being with his family and being like trying to win every game we played, and being like, sorry. Like, it's just like, it's
This
such
is who I am.
Yeah, like this is just who I am.
Also, this is the first time we've done a podcast with the three of us in one room instead of being on multiple different
You
screens
two
in
are
different
together.
places. So one, shout out to us. That's great. Two, I have no idea what we're doing. Are we supposed to be looking at the camera
I think it's
at the audience
both.
or more so looking at each other?
I think it's
A
both.
little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a question though, pausing. Is this door still open?
Let's
Or
try
is
it.
it, sorry,
No,
I should have
you're-
checked it. I thought I shut it.
Oh, it's just that.
It's the wind is
Yeah.
that.
And I think it's fine though.
Okay, it'll be okay. Take care of it in post
Mhm.
production.
Well, it's interesting to see how you got such a lens of the competition in the household that even though you didn't maybe try to overstep your boundaries and challenging the older siblings, you took it outside the house and put it to the test
Oh yeah.
with your boyfriend.
Take it out on other people
Yeah.
instead of us.
Like, why is this girl so intense? Like, because I'm
I
here to
think
win.
What's interesting is I would label myself as competitive. Like I'm a competitive person. But as I get older, being competitive isn't fun and losing sucks. And I hate losing. And so now I'll say I'm competitive, but people who know me are like, no, you're not. I'm like, yeah, because I honestly just don't care as much anymore. I'm kind of like, you know what? If I'm going to lose, it's okay. But if I have a chance of winning, especially with family and when it's fun. But yeah, as soon as the fun is gone, I'm kind of tapped out.
Well, I think it's amazing that we went from judgmental and competitive to non-judgmental and cooperative, and that we're not really competitive anymore. But let's talk about how bad it was and how it has actually shaped and framed our own experiences of failure.
Yeah.
What were you failing at as a kid?
Everything he was participating in, I was failing in. Like that, like literally, if I go back to my journals, I have journals from like 12 years old or like 10, 12 years old. And it's literally like the bane of my existence. This guy right here. And I just like my journals will be like, today, King Saya made a mean face at me. And then he like wouldn't help make breakfast. That's like a play-by-play of like everything. But really at the crux of it is we were homeschooled. And so there was a lot of time together, but a lot of time like having to complete/compete in a way. I think about spelling tests. We would have spelling tests and like on a sheet, 100 words, we had to spell them. And we're kids and I suck at spelling. And I felt like he was always good at everything. And so every time I missed something, I would fail and I would see myself as a failure and I would see myself as he's the one that won or successful. So losers versus winners was very prominent growing up.
And I will say this is not something I'm proud of, but I remember knowing I had advantages in certain areas. And so I would use those advantages. So I would introduce spelling challenges.
I'm like, why? Why?
And purposely pick words that like songs has a P in it. Like I would purposely go for words that I knew were tough to try to like use my advantage when I didn't. It was awful. That part was awful. And I wish I had one of her journal entries, but Olivia sent me one of her journal entries recently. And it was dated back 30 some years ago. And it was King Saya did this and King Saya did that. And this King Saya made me feel this way. I was like, oh, it's like, I was like, wow. I didn't, and a lot of it's a block to me. I didn't realize that I had said all the things I said or was that way. And then I wondered, and that was just one date. I'm like, what's the next day say? Like, if you're journaling every day, how much is my name in your journal?
It's a lot. But I do want to say this. Now being older, I do not think it was excessive beyond the older brother just being a brother. Like I do want to say that it's fairly normal in context. It wasn't like outrageous, even though it felt like it at the time.
Well, and I think kids, right, are like your world is outrageous. You know, like everything is dramatic or
so
like
dramatic.
It's the drama of your childhood. It's like,
yeah.
So you were just winning in life in childhood.
In
Winning.
childhood, I guess I was winning, but
Hashtag winning.
I was like, I was the oldest. And so
Mhm.
it was easy for me to leverage that.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to come full circle toward the end of our conversation and talk about how it really has set me up for losing.
Right.
Oh gosh. Well, and I want to say too that like you're the oldest, but we're only 4 months apart. So in my mind, we're the same age.
We are.
And so I'm just trying to keep up. Like I'm just trying to like stay with you, being similar ages. So
And no, we didn't have a miraculous same mom, weird 4 month apart childbirth.
oh yeah, no.
Just in case people are wondering, wait, how are you
Because
siblings and 4 months apart? We have the same father and two different mothers.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Clarification.
we're about the same age. And that still didn't stop the horror and the way it all
trauma.
unfolded. And it was what? And so we say that, or Olivia does not play games. Like every time we try to have a board game night, Olivia's
I'm out.
absent. She's
I'm okay.
gone. She's doing something
I'm okay.
else. We haven't heard back from her.
I didn't respond to the
She didn't
group
respond.
text.
So whether it was Monopoly, what were the other games that we
Scrabble, because again, you got spelling in a board game. Oh hell no, I'm done. The game of life. Remember that game?
Life,
Oh, yeah.
Candyland.
Just any pinochle, because we learned
play
pinochle
cards.
as a kid, spades. I'm okay. I'm good. I went from super competitive to just like, yeah, it's okay. I'll watch. Which is sad. I'm like, I need therapy, but it's okay.
And how does it feel? How do you pair that childhood experience with being an adult and navigating life, and what that either taught you, set you up for, how it helped you overcome your challenges?
Mm-hmm. I think it's just all about perspective. Your biggest failure, the failure that you're dealing with is always the biggest one until you fail at something else. So the challenges of like failing at spelling tests, that was the biggest thing I had experienced at the time. Mm-hmm. So like you said, life is outrageous, life is dramatic and big. And so then fast forward to like literally failing a class in college, not just getting a D, but like it was online, and this was a billion years ago, having an online class and just failing it because I didn't manage my time. And that being the biggest failure I had experienced at the time. Fast forward then to a failing marriage and a divorce, and that being the biggest failure. So it's perspective is always, what is it? Hindsight, 2020.
Was I in those journals? Like, did it ever come full circle? Like, had King Saya not done this with Monopoly, this would have. Okay.
No, just the perspective of, wow, I thought that was so big, and I, just how horrible King Saya was and all the stuff. And then it's just like perspective. That was my 12-year-old perspective, and now I have a 40-something perspective, and it's totally different. But how resilient you become as you get older, and then you look back and I'm like, that divorce was nothing. Or the trying to raise kids and get them to a certain place, that was nothing compared to what I'm going through now, or the failure that I've experienced since then.
Do you place more weight on one versus the other when it comes to professional failure versus more like personal failure?
You know what? I don't know that it's professional versus personal. I think it's public versus private. So the professional failure could be public, but the private or the personal can be public as well. So it's really, I think the public level of failure for me is where I see the big differences at, and what I've experienced myself. Who sees it? Like, who knows and who sees it? There's a lot of things we fail with. And I was mentoring a student yesterday, and she's a senior at CU Denver. And we were talking about the things you don't tell people. I think we've talked about this. Is if you don't tell me, like, Olivia, I'm launching a podcast in January, I'm doing these things. If you don't tell anyone that, and then you don't launch the podcast, then you've kind of failed yourself. Like, you didn't fulfill what you set out to be, but no one else knows that you were going to do that. So there is no public or failure outside of your own thought process, right? So the more that people know about this is the thing, and that's where I go, like, I would say to marriage, like people know,
Mhm.
then that's where the heaviness and the weight of the failure comes. It's like, how many people really know about this and know the extent of the failure?
I'm almost hearing that the worst, it's the failure where nobody knows and you don't even put yourself out there is actually worse than putting yourself out there and people knowing. Is that
Maybe not for me.
not for you?
Not for me. There's a lot of things, y'all, that like if I were to tell you all of the things that I planned to do by now or this year or by February or whatever, that like all these grandiose like ideas, and I always do that like end of the year. I'm like, oh, January 1, here we go, and like all this. But I haven't told a ton of people that, so you don't know how much I'm failing right now or not.
Yeah, I was thinking of it from the standpoint of it definitely feels better because nobody knows, so you're protected. But on the flip side, is that protection also keeping you from, I don't know, emerging and moving to the next step?
And that's why I tell people, like, the biggest thing you can do is confide in someone or in a group of people saying, this is what I plan to do, because they can hold you accountable. And there's a little bit of that pressure there to actually do it. And when you don't, and when you come to me and it's like, Olivia, we talked about doing like, I was like, I need a digital product to sell or like something by the end of January, and to come up with it. And you could be like, oh, sis, how's that coming? And I could be like, oh, there's the pressure. And so it makes me get it done. Right. So I think that there is that. And to answer your question, truthfully, while the public failure is harder, I think the public failure lends to more success.
Well, what about too, where when it is public, you can have accountability, but you can also have judgment. Like you open yourselves up to everyone's opinion about who you are, whether you succeed or not.
Yeah.
That's scary.
That's so scary. This is kind of going back to childhood. And I don't know if you remember, you probably don't remember this or not, but we grew up in karate school. Like that was our thing. So there's pictures of us at 3 years old in karate keys and all of that stuff. And he was better than me, of course. So, and I just wanted to prove myself. And I wanted, like, honestly, I wanted our dad to be proud of me, and I wanted to succeed at something again at a young age. But I just remember sparring, and you got me so good in the face. And we had masks, like we had helmets and masks.
I didn't take it easy on you. Huh?
You didn't take it easy on me, which I didn't want you to, but you got me so good, like across the like, and I felt like this was a very girl response. Sadly, I started crying. I was like pissed and sad and embarrassed because there's people around, right? And then there's our dad watching and all this stuff. So I'm like crying, like behind them, like hoping we could see it. And I just start like wailing, like I'm coming at you, like just try, but my form is gone. So then I get called out, right? I get in trouble because my form is gone. Like I'm emotional. I'm like lost control. Yeah, I'm like out of control. But I got you back and I knocked your tooth out. Do you remember that?
See, sadly, I don't.
You don't?
Sadly, I don't.
I knocked your tooth out. And that was like the one. Was that fulfilling? Yeah. It was so, and it could have been.
I do remember losing a tooth in karate, but I don't remember how it happened. Wow.
And it probably was, it could have been loose and it could, all these things, but yeah, that was kind of fulfilling.
And we were under the age of 6 or 7.
No, we're probably upwards of 10, maybe.
Oh, I'm just trying to think how long it took me to develop some compassion and empathy for my siblings.
Well, and I'm just thinking, like, how long are we losing teeth like that? Like we're teeth falling out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was young. It was young. But that public, it was a public failure for me, and then a public triumph in a way. I know that sounds horrible, but the emotions there's a big roller coaster in that moment for me.
Do you feel like you have a good awareness or have had when you've set a goal or outcome that is based on public approval and praise versus like a personal, where like whether you succeed or fail, it's just about you versus, or can we really distinguish between the two? Because sometimes I was thinking when you said, I really wanted dad to be proud of me, that is, it's about someone else, but it is also about yourself. Like that, it's very
Yeah.
connected. And like, but do you guys, when you set out to do something, right, like the definition of failure is that there is some goal, some outcome you are trying to succeed at and achieve. When you set those things in life, you know, where is your awareness for whether it's about public, whether it's about,
I think for me, and this is sad as I'm thinking about it, it's unfortunate. There are a lot of people I know that achieve and are successful at things because it's for them. And because it's for them, they take a lot of pride in it and they accomplish and finish it. Even more so because it is for them and not for other people. And I don't know, this goes back to I feel like I need a lot of therapy here, but if this goes back to my self-worth or dealings in self-worth, that when it's just for me, I don't pursue it as strongly and heavily. Because if I let myself down, I've just let Olivia down. And Olivia, you know, whatever, versus letting other people down. And this goes to people pleasing, which I struggle with. So yeah, it's interesting.
That makes sense. How it's so much easier to let yourself down than to let other people down.
And I know people that are the opposite of that. What about you? How do you feel?
I think that I did not have an awareness growing up and like, you know, from child to adulthood of what I was doing for mostly other people or for who I'm like for public presentation, like who I am then, you know, to other people because of the things that I'm accomplishing. But I think now I definitely have an awareness when I'm doing it for others versus like I just need to do this for me. And I'm finding more joy in the things just for myself, like in a very selfish, like I really don't care. This is just about me. So
that's good.
But I can see where depending on what it is, it could give you more motivation. You know, if it's like for your kid or for your mom or
people I care about,
then it's like it's something else that can drive you. And sometimes we need that in the same way we need accountability of someone saying, did you do this? You said you were going to do this. Like, I have a question. You picked this topic, so and you did a TED Talk on it. So tell us about your TED Talk, and then also just like why this topic.
Yeah.
And was it TED or TEDx?
It's a TEDx.
TEDx.
Yeah. I feel like the longer you live, and as we get older, the more failure you experience. And again, going back to like what you feel that a childhood was the biggest, greatest failure, and now what we're feeling at now is the biggest and greatest failure. So the perspective changes. So I think that's why I wanted to pick the topic, is just like being in the midst of that and now having kids that are adults and watching them go through certain things, failed relationships or, you know, failed jobs, you know, whatever that might be. And me thinking, oh girl, this is nothing. Like this, you know, you're in you're 22. Like what could be that wrong with life and stuff like that. But also remembering me at that age and being like, wow, but it's heavy and it's big. And then the TEDx talk was really about reframing failure. So instead of labeling myself as a failure, labeling the thing, I failed at this, I am not a failure, I failed at this, but also thinking about it as we must fail in order to succeed or in order to be successful. So failure as a prerequisite for success was kind of the title of the TEDx. And I had a lot of different examples in there and stories, but one of my own was in college. I had tried out for the cheerleading team my freshman year going into college, and I bombed. Like it was so bad that I don't think I told anyone I even tried out. I don't think anyone knows I tried out.
I don't think I know this.
Then fast forward to my last year in college, I tried out again and I made the team. But there's some different dynamics in that and how I made the team and why I made the team and things like that. But long story short, I got a concussion, fell off of a pyramid during a big game. So I'm just like splat on the court. And then when I wake up and stand up, everyone's cheering. It's like this big, I don't know, several thousands of people in this stadium, this indoor stadium cheering. And then remembering being the only Black person on this team. So now I'm like visibly, which one fell and failed. And then being on campus and someone literally saying to me, "Are you okay?" I saw what happened the other. I'm like, yeah, you and thousands of other people saw what happened.
Wow.
But I had a lot of shame. I had a lot of embarrassment, even though it wasn't technically my fault. It's still something that happened, was very, very public. But then I had the individuals that reached out to me and were like, "Are you okay?" and championed me. And again, there's politics around the team and the culture and, being up at CU and all of that stuff. So that was one of the stories I gave of, in that big failure that was very public, then the cheerleaders that we find in life that step up for us are also public. And so that gives us that fuel and the motivation and then a drive and the support we need to up level to whatever that next thing is to gain that success. When failure is private, like we talked about, nobody knows that it happened. I sit with it internally. Maybe the weight isn't as heavy, but I also don't have those people that are like, "I saw this, I know that this happened, and yet I'm rooting for you." So that was kind of the premises.
Love it. We're definitely going to provide a link to the TEDx talk, so
Yes.
you guys can check that out. Brother, so we moved past your winning stage, and then tell us about your relationship to failure as an adult now.
Whew. So if it hasn't already been said, I know we're talking about how to reframe failure as a positive, as something you need. But what if you are so uncomfortable or distant from failure that you don't even know how to face it? And then you just keep avoiding it and bypassing it. And I'm starting to, this container that we're setting right now is literally giving me emergence. Like there's an emergent moment happening in this call where I'm realizing more and more how much I have distanced myself from the experience and the feeling of failure because of winning in competitive games versus my younger siblings who I already had an advantage on. And so now I'm seeing all the ways in which I've hid failure, or I've stopped and tried to privatize it, or even to the point of trying to manipulate or orchestrate so where no one's going to know about it until it works.
Yeah.
And so, there's these questions about, okay, well, how would you handle it, or how can you handle it? But what the question for people like me is, how can we help you get close to it instead of continue to stay far away from it? Because that's what I'm realizing I've been doing. It's similar to that therapeutic story of uncertainty feels more terrifying than staying in the place that's actually going to kill us. And so we die in our place of familiarity because at least it's familiar.
Right.
And I've had that same relationship to failure.
Okay, so now I'm pairing this story about, I was like, let's do a spelling competition because I know how to do that.
I will win. Like your odds, right?
Your odds.
I'm calculating my odds.
Your risk. You're a little bit, would you call yourself risk averse?
Actually, as an entrepreneur, I have a high risk profile in terms of what I'm willing to lose and take chances on. But my biggest fear is rejection. And I've had an avoidant relationship with failure. And so it's a little bit different. It's a little bit nuanced.
Okay.
In terms of rejection and failure, I'm super risk avoidant.
Okay.
Even though I'm high risk tolerant in so many other ways, in the ways that I can privatize what my experiences are.
And control. You can control those. You've heard of the term fail fast. You heard of that? Fail fast?
I don't think so.
In the entrepreneurship sense, it's like, if I'm going to launch a company, I want to launch it fast. If I'm going to hire someone, I want to hire them because I want to know if it's going to work out, so then I can fire them quickly, like shift, pivot, right? So fail fast, fail optimize, pivot, et cetera. So I feel like in a business standpoint, in an entrepreneurship standpoint, it makes sense to fail, to do that, to expose yourself to risk. But that concept from a personal standpoint is not there.
No. And I can give you an example just with the work I'm doing now, the Monoheart Collective, which is this community of courageous souls coming together to face these uncertain times. That had been an idea, excuse me, living in my body for almost a year. And I kept wanting to launch it with a group of people. And I would wait, and I'm playing it safe. Like, I'm not going to launch it until I know the group is there and I know we have a launch pad. And so again, I struggle to face failure and I struggle to face rejection. And so instead of just doing it and falling and tripping, I'm like, nope, I'm not going to fall. I'm not going to trip. I'm not even going to do it until I know it's going to land. And finally, I couldn't avoid the process anymore. Like if you're really going to step into personal growth, healing, and all that good stuff, eventually you just have to face the thing you're not willing to face. And so I had that big, flat, fall on my face experience launching the Monoheart Collective, where I even put it on live viewing. It was a public link. Anyone could see it. And it was just my whole family there, my whole family, to watch me try to introduce this community that I wanted to build. And it was a complete failure. It was a complete failure in front of 10 family members.
Including us.
And yes, y'all were there. And like, most people don't believe me when I say this. It was a top 5 moment of intense anxiety, like chemical sensation of embarrassment, fear, and failure. That's so funny. It's because of my avoidance. It's because I've been avoiding this feeling because I didn't have a reason to experience it, or I just didn't have experience with it growing up in our family dynamic. And we were homeschooled. Mm-hmm. So it's not like I was playing sports with schools and learning loss and failure.
That's true.
We were homeschooled. I was just winning in the family. And so I became distanced from this idea of losing and failure, and have had an avoidant relationship to it. But now things are changing. And wow, what a wake-up call. And then the blessing of it was everyone who was supposed to be on that call to help kickstart this community couldn't make it. So I remember after waking up the next day feeling gutted, I was like, wait a minute, everyone who feels a tether and kind of like a resonance with this community I'm building weren't even there. It's like, whew, at least I didn't fall on my face in front of them.
So it wasn't as public as it could have been.
It was public enough. It was public enough. Like, God spared me.
Well, what's so funny too is it's perspective, because I'm on the call and I'm like, I can tell he's nervous. And you had mentioned about being nervous and stuff like that. So, but in my mind, I'm like, all right, brother, that was pretty good. That was okay.
Well, right. Samantha definitely knew it was worse than okay.
Yeah, it is funny that it is for sure about perspective too, because for me, and I'll say this, when someone close to you or when someone knows what you're capable of gives you feedback and it's not positive, it is not negative. It's literally about the potential and who they see you as, and they're like, knowing you fell short, and it's not like it wasn't horrible. It just, I know you and I know your intentions for this branch of Monoheart. And so I was just thinking, okay, like that wasn't it, but like also whatever.
Yeah.
From a failure is about learning.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's about collecting information.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Collecting information, data for the next time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's worth adding this piece to what happened. And I'm reminded of the saying that your family starts your nervous system, right? Your nervous system begins with your family. And so when I'm on a call, that my family is not really a part of this community, but they're supporting me. And I'm on this call looking at 10 different family members on a Zoom call. I'm like, oh my God, that's my sister who told me I treated her awful when I was a kid. Oh my God, that's my other sister who told me when I was 14 I can't sing. Oh my God, that's my other sister who has all these trauma wounds with our parents, and I'm like involved with it. And so every time I looked at a family member, all of my childhood problems came surfacing through, and I'm navigating all of the experiences where my nervous system began.
Wow.
And that's all I could feel in that moment, in that 30 minutes of a moment. And that's why I fell on my face and could not get through that call. And I had never wanted to quit something so bad. I was literally just wanted to quit that whole call. And I was like, you know what? There's something here to teach me. And so the most important thing I can do is finish. Yeah, follow through, and we'll see what comes of it, or what I'm meant to experience, what the experience is teaching me.
Well, and you in what you do, like you cannot control like your environment in its entirety, right? So what you're saying is all of a sudden I'm faced with these things that are coming up that are out of my control just because of the audience that I was speaking to. And so you can also, learn from that and figure out, well, if you're presented with this situation again where your traumas are surfacing, like what tools do you have then to try to
navigate
that situation? I mean, knowing all that, I think gives a little bit more perspective for me to be like, oh wow, like
same. Yeah.
I understand more,
And I've talked about it with others in the sense of, let's say you're a Buddhist and Buddhism is some new philosophy that you really embrace, you really care about it, you're talking to other people about it, you're studying it. And then all of a sudden you give a presentation on Buddhism and you think it's going to be your study group that shows up. And instead your whole family is there, who's Christian, who's indifferent, who's whatever, it's the beginning of where you started with a family that might not get you in the same way that your study group would have got you. And now you have to give a presentation to them, to all of them. Unexpectedly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an example of like what that was like and how that could feel.
Yeah.
You know what that brings me to is just like everyone's dealing with something. So I think about like the winners, like the winners in our life and the people who are the most confident and present as the most confident have the stuff that they're dealing with too. And us not really knowing about that.
Yeah. Well, back to you, but I'm cycling into this embracement of failure and appreciating that I'm in it now and not avoiding it anymore.
Welcome to the,
Thank you.
to the club.
I'm on the team.
Welcome to the team of failure.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Well, failure, we talked about failure being something you do forward. Like it's not taking us backward. It's actually getting us closer to where we're going. Do you want to start speaking to this forward place that you're in life, or just more of your wins and how failure has actually helped you, and speak to more of some of your wins?
I was just talking to the student who is a founder and has created a really great, cool, innovative product. And so she's learning about manufacturing and trademarking and patents and all of these things. And I was just kind of explaining to her that as an entrepreneur, you have this term serial entrepreneur, which also is like a negative connotation. But I feel like if you have that in you, if you're an entrepreneur, you cannot help it. Anyone who's like, I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and they started one business in their entire life. I'm like, really? Like, because you just have that in you. And so thinking about the fact that now being in my late 40s, have started so many businesses and helped so many people that have failed, right? The businesses are no longer here. I've had to shut them down. They failed or whatever that circumstance is, has taught me so much, so that you become less risk averse when you go into that next venture, because you have so much experience behind you. You have so much under your belt. You have thicker skin. You've got calluses on your hand. Like you can actually do more work. And so I feel like it's kind of like someone saying eating nose for breakfast. You're like waking up and it's like, let's get the nose out of the way. Let's get the failures in the way so that we can learn from them and use them as launching pads and to propel us into the next thing. So I see that as a very, very clear parallel in business, for example. I can't say that I feel and see that in relationship. I know that it exists, but that for me is still a hard connection of I've failed in these areas in a relationship and now I'm set up for success for the next one. I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that.
I think so. I think it works.
It does
Sometimes.
work. It works. I'm just not there.
Yes.
Yeah.
On a personal level.
Yeah.
It is interesting thinking about the way you can kind of like lose a lot of battles, but win a war in something. So having like in failure as like collecting information and like just reworking like a problem where it's like, oh, well, I failed at all these things, but in the end, like I feel like your initial, I didn't make the cheerleading team, but at the end, you know, I did, you know, and persistence and you didn't have to try out again.
No,
you could have accepted that and moved on. There are things I think in life that you do accept. Like I didn't win at this. I'm not trying again. Like it's not worth the effort. Took the experience, took the L, moving on.
Yeah.
But it is interesting just to talk about reframing. So we introduced the definition of failure in the beginning as the inability to accomplish some goal you set. But on an experiential level, as a human being, you're kind of talking about sometimes you need that. And sometimes you need it to succeed then.
Absolutely. I think so. Absolutely. Yeah. What would you say is one of your biggest failures? We have one of your top 5
already on record, just recently too.
Recently.
Gosh, it's so funny. We did a podcast on longing, and I was just telling him like I'm so far removed from my relationship to longing that like it's hard sometimes to dig back. And I feel like that with failure right now because I'm literally like just reframing every single thing that I like fail at, where for it to be called failure, you have to, and maybe this is a cop out and I'm just like moving and grooving in that way, but like, you have to determine that what you wanted to happen, like was the goal and the purpose. And so I just switch it around and I'm like, well,
that wasn't the goal. That
yeah,
wasn't the purpose.
Like in this, maybe it's a cop out, but in this way where I go, oh, I wasn't meant to. I feel like my 7-year relationship is like what I can easily think back on. But entering that relationship, I'm like, I'm going to get married and this is the person I'm going to be with forever. And then when it ends, there's all these questions about me. I'm looking at my self-worth. I'm also questioning my beliefs about relationships and the longevity of them and whether marriage is even something you're supposed to do or good or something that can be successful. And so I literally was like, well, statistically speaking, like the likelihood of that working out was not high. So
anyway,
so I just reframed it in this way of like, most people fail, especially this was my first.
So you didn't fail.
So I was like, man, you know, or like, I felt like, oh, it was just supposed to be that way.
Yeah.
Or it was like what was most likely going to happen is that it wasn't going to work out. And you know, like, and it helped me feel better.
When you say, you could say that now. Could you say that then?
No.
So it's the hindsight thing. Yeah.
In it, I was like, but after and spending some time and then thinking, because I just wonder if this is why I also asked about whether you're risk adverse or how you move in terms of what risks you do take or what you do pursue in terms of goals. is, are you calculating like the likelihood of the success of this to be like, oh, you know, because sometimes when you do that, when things are more calculated, even though it's something you've never done before or accomplished, if you know you have a higher chance of winning, like with the spelling contest, it's easier to engage in that. And if you do lose, but you know,
Chances are you,
chances are you'll probably
Or-
succeed. So
yeah.
it's like there's a little bit of a safety net. And I think for me, I wonder with entrepreneurship, the fail rate is high.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
most businesses fail.
Yeah.
If you know that, and if you're doing it for the love of entrepreneurship, then you will go in there and you'll fail fast and you will fail again and again and again.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, I'm just here for the game.
Yeah. The experience, the journey and process. Right.
Knowing I will probably lose most of these games.
Mhm.
But when I win,
Yeah.
I'm
And the
gonna make
journey to get there, like the high and like
Mhm.
the experience is going to be amazing.
yeah.
Huh.
I don't know.
That's good.
Maybe failure is such a hard human experience emotionally because of the way that we framed it.
Yeah.
I know in episode 4, was it episode 4 on longing?
Mm-hmm.
I talked about sometimes beyond longing, there's a conviction, an inner knowing that this is what I'm meant to be doing. And to me, that is the one outstanding equation that overrides all the calculations. So all the calculations that says I've got a 1% chance of this or 0.00 whatever chance of doing this, none of that matters in that moment of conviction where you're standing in a space and you're like, I'm meant to be here. I'm meant to move forward in this and give total trust to the universe to make this work out.
That's great. How does that,
purpose.
yeah, the conviction and purpose, how does that shift or grow for you as you get older? Like, does your confidence in that of purpose and the conviction get stronger as you get older?
It does, but as the conviction gets stronger, the doubt grows bigger. And
Really?
Versus the opposite.
there's a life coach that I know, and we've been in passing. She gave a speech that I was a part of, wow, out in Myrtle Beach one day for IV Nutrition, a big event that they were having. Her name is Jennifer, and I can't think of her last name. And she said this term that I will never forget called next level, next devil. And so it's like you're at level 3. As soon as you get to level 4, you got level 4 confidence, but the level 4 devil is there too.
Yeah.
And so you also have level 4 doubt, level 4 disbelief. And I think the awareness piece is just to say, and this is what I'm learning as I get older, is that if we're going to be whole, if we're going to be more integrated, we have to live and ride the pendulum on both sides. And so I'm up here in my confidence. When the pendulum hits here, I'm excited. But I have to be willing and okay to stay on the pendulum when it goes to the other side.
Yeah.
And so I will have just as whatever my big confident moments are, I have the exact opposite in doubt and disbelief.
Yeah.
But can I hold on to the idea that, okay, this is how it's supposed to be, so that I don't avoid that cycle?
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel complete?
Is it questions for the audience time?
Q&A or a challenge? What do we want to leave people with?
First, we should close. We did that opening. We need to close. We need to close before we move on to the audience.
Do you think so?
Well, am I alone in this?
I'll do whatever.
Okay.
Let's do it then.
Let's do a close.
Okay.
We'll just do a hum.
Okay.
You follow my lead?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. I
I'm
love
like,
it.
can I breathe
I love
that
it.
long?
We have
Listen.
cycles, we have opens and closes.
Y'all have been living in
I
Colorado,
know,
but the
like the
altitude here for
altitude,
me.
the
Oh
altitude in
yeah,
this
we have to be
building right
careful.
now.
I'm just kidding.
No, we have to be careful. It's
I
rough
ran
out
out
in
of breath.
Colorado.
I ran out of breath
So
on
did
that
I.
one. It felt
It
embarrassing.
was on this part. It was this part where I was like,
Yeah, when he
wait a
started
minute.
taking it up, and I was like,
What? Okay,
What
we're
do we
good.
want to leave
It
our
was
audience
great.
with? Questions,
Maybe
challenges?
Maybe a challenge.
Yeah, to reframe, to rethink failure. What big failures have you experienced in life? How can you shift your mindset around them to be positive, to be stepping stones, to be data that's collected so that you can learn and grow and propel and succeed?
And to not get caught up in, because I think what often happens with failure is that we tie a story to it. And one, not only the story that we're telling about the situation, but then the story that we're telling about ourselves, about our worth and value. And so I know we didn't touch on that heavily in this talk, but I think reframing definitely helps you get outside of that and get unstuck and move beyond the shame or embarrassment of that failure.
And if someone's watching and they're like, oh, well, how do I do that? Like I'm experiencing it right now. I'm either avoiding it or I'm in it. And you're this is wonderful what you're saying, but how? Like what would you say to that question? How? How do I do that?
There are a couple things that I do. In the midst of failure, I will write down and journal a couple things. One is, what are the 5 things I know for sure? So yes, I'm failing. These things aren't happening correctly. All of this stuff is crumbling, whatever. But what 5 things do I know for sure? And those things I can hold on to. That's like solid, right? And then I also write out, what are the things that I'm learning right now? And then at least that gets me to, I don't necessarily feel great. And it's not like, oh, failure is not a big deal, but at least it gets my head in the right game, in the right direction.
Nice. You have an anchor for what's yours.
An anchor, yeah.
And you have a process of growth for what you're seeing in
What
your
I'm
own development and your own learning.
Yeah.
And I think tying into, you were talking about purpose, where instead of saying, oh, I was meant to launch this business and reach like whatever profit, and say you didn't, and it's like, well, then you could say I was meant to learn of the basics of business
through this experience.
Yeah, and that it's tied to purpose, right? It's not I don't know, it feels so fixed sometimes versus where you can be more flexible and saying like, I thought the lesson here was going to be like obtaining all this wealth or achieving public praise and stuff, and it's like, but the purpose here was hard times, or was growing through adversity, or whatever it was.
I like that. And I'm thinking about the mountain analogy, where you are on one side of the mountain trying to get to the other side, but you have to go around it and you can't see what's on the other side. And so you start with something to get you to here, and then you start with something else to get you to here, and then you end up over there and you're in a different spot. And if I track the last 5 years of my life, I started with choicewellness.org because I'm such a health healing human. And then I started with, and then I got to partway through the mountain and then started new male paradigm, this idea of like, what does the new male look like as we evolve and integrate? And then that dissipated into a greater realization that I want to work with everyone, and men are just like a compartmentalized spot in who I am and where I work. And then Mana Heart was birthed.
But you could have never gone from here to Mana Heart.
Could have never gone from there to Mana Heart. I had to start with Choice Wellness. I had to start with New Male Paradigm. And I had to realize that those were stepping stones to where I am now, so that I don't frame failure in a way that paralyzes me or harms me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
Did you have any other challenges for our listeners?
I do have a challenge. Based on my own experience of avoidance. And we were just all together last night, and I had the wonderful opportunity to showcase a documentary that I'm in and talk about the challenges men face. And someone in the audience spoke about their an ex of theirs, or one woman spoke about an ex of theirs who it's this typical example where men show up in relationships sometimes. I'm stereotyping here. Men show up in relationships, they overpromise or put a woman up high and make it seem like they're there to show up. And then it all dissipates. There's a disappointment. And in this particular case, I'm going to tie this in a second. This woman said that her ex was promising or speaking as if he was going to do the work and acknowledge what went wrong. And I think the key is, and the challenge that I'm putting out there is the importance for us to ask for help and to connect with community. Mm-hmm. Because if we feel guilty or feel regret, or our compassion registers the harm that we cause, and we say we're going to get help, and all we do is go back into the same isolated cage that's the root of our problems, then even if we're sincere in wanting to get help and get better or move forward, help doesn't exist in that cage of isolation. And so for me, being adverse to rejection and failure, the only way I can get close to something I am so far away from is if I reach out my hand and hold someone else's hand and be held in a community that can actually help me move closer to this, because I'm too far away from it. I will default to staying in what's familiar. So I think the challenge is if you grew up
a winner.
Oh, yeah, a winner in your sibling rivalry, and you don't know you honestly don't have a close relationship to failure, and you're needing to get close to it in order to grow, expand, heal, and become this next version of yourself and take up all these masks. Don't do it alone. And it's impossible to do it alone. So find a community, reach out. You have to hold someone else's hand. You have to be pulled. We're not meant to do this alone. And yeah, that's my challenge, is to ask someone for help. I don't care how tall you are, how strong you are, how badass you think you are. In this game of the human soul and the integration of our emotional nature and moving forward as this next chapter in humanity, we can't do this alone. It's all about the collective.
Absolutely.
It's a great close.
Yes. Thank you so much, Liv.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's amazing, the timing and the fact that we got to sit together in person. This has been awesome. So thank you so much for the topic and for everything that you brought to the conversation. This has been another episode of How Do You Human? Subscribe, like, comment, share, and thanks for joining us on the ride.
Peace.
I just wanna wake up, get my cake up, praise my maker, ayo, 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 ayo. Nice. I was ready to keep singing.